Hey, I'm Cecily Korst. Welcome to the trailer.
The Trailer Talks is sponsored by Imaging DNA, Ideas, Images, Insight. The core of the conversation is the image at imagingdna.com.
My name is Elaine Astrue, and I'm a blogger. I'm a cyclist, an endurance cyclist, and I'm a survivor of traumatic brain injury. And I ride my bike, and I research brain injury, and I write about those things.
Excellent. So tell us about your journey thus far.
My journey started 2 years ago with the blog, and 5 years ago with a car accident where I had a brain injury. Just basically, we rear-ended another car, and my head hit the back of the seat in front of me. And about a year and a half after that, I left my job, and I've been trying to get better from the brain injury by exercising.
So what experience did you have at work? I mean, were you having trouble processing things after the accident, and you didn't? I understand they didn't really know that there was anything wrong.
At work, they were motivated to believe there was nothing wrong because they wanted me to be just back to work just like that. And I wanted that too. And basically, brain injuries are mostly invisible. Mild brain injuries are invisible. So most people think, if we don't see something that's wrong with you, then there can't be anything wrong with you. We're very much like that as a society as well. We watch television, we're very visual. Anyway, so there was nothing visual to cue people. And what happened was I was basically trying very hard to keep up with what I needed to do in a very fast-paced environment in the tech industry in Silicon Valley. So I was a manager in engineering, and I had 11 direct reports. And things were just on fire. I mean, my company had been acquired. Our roadmap was, really packed full of things that we were doing because of that. And it was very dynamic. I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning to have 4-hour-long meetings with people in Europe. And so you kind of get the picture that it was very challenging. And I also noticed that I was not multitasking at all. So I was good enough at my job that when it was pretty template, I could do one task after another fairly quickly. And this sort of approximates what multitasking looks like. But actually, it would take only a little bit more complexity, a few more tasks, like one more task or a little more uncertainty with one task, and then things would get very, very difficult for me. And, in the months after the accident, obviously, there were more severe symptoms that sort of tapered off as well. Things like getting emotionally upset with my team more, and things like not being able, initially I could not actually pack my bag to go to work. So I was a bike commuter, so I had to stop bike commuting for a while. And so those things sort of tapered off. But the things like short-term memory loss and multitasking ability, and attention. There's a relationship between attention and memory. Those are still getting better.
Good. So you've been cycling for ages then.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I'm really lucky because I was a cyclist before my brain injury. And I think I started cycling somewhere around 1996. 1997 was when I did my first sort of multi-day tour. And I became an endurance cyclist in 1998. So at the time of the accident, I had done that for 10 years already. And that's a very good platform. I had the sort of equipment to do that. And I didn't really have the motivation, which is interesting. That's something that sometimes happens with mild brain injuries. So you just feel like a couch potato. But I knew that I needed to do it. I knew that it was important that I do it. So I had to try to find a way to do it. And the reason I knew it was is because when I went for a long bike ride after my brain injury, just all of that fog that was associated with recovery and all that sort of those memory and attention problems, they got a lot better after a long bike ride. I was like, hey, I need to be doing this. What can I do that's going to help me do this, motivate me to do this? And that's part of why the blog is there.
So how does exercise help brain injury victims?
The thing that I know it helps with is it helps your brain get the message it needs to rebuild itself. So it helps with neurogenesis. When I was learning in high school about what the brain did, and that's as much education as I have on it other than the internet, what they told us was that the brain never makes new brain cells. And so once you have a head injury, there's like this horrible sort of negative outlook that you're given by the medical establishment. And this still is the case, even though the research is that your brain can make new neurons and it can forge new connections and it can actually recover amazingly from even severe brain injuries. So there's hope. So partly I wanted to get the message of hope out there. But basically it signals the brain, hey, make new neurons, make new connections, all good. And then also it boosts the circulation of blood to the brain. And so the brain has oxygen and red blood cells to do that work with. And it helps in a bunch of other ways too, but I think those are the main two.
On the back of your business card, it says, I have it right in front of me, it says, how my traumatic brain injury became a gift.
I mean, the most obvious one is that I had to redesign my life. So we make a lot of choices in life before we realize what we're choosing, I think. And the injury that I had was a frontal lobe injury, which means that my sense of self was affected, so my identity. And I was really conscious of sort of making choices about who I was now, about what's important to me and what's not, and what my values are. And I think before the accident, I really felt like those things were imprinted on me when I was too young to really make the choices consciously. So I made some conscious choices that I really feel like I'm more who I'm supposed to be now. That's one thing. Another thing is that someone asked me, is there anything you're actually better at now? Because it's really easy to get sucked into what I'm not so good at anymore. I feel those things on a pretty much daily basis. But in terms of something that I'm actually better at, I think I'm very instinctive now when it comes to interacting with people. So if they're telling me something that doesn't really compute with their body language or whatever, I'm more in tune with the body language than I am with the words coming out of their mouth or the script. So in some ways I'm relating to people around me on a deeper, more significant level.
So that's really neat, is making those conscious choices. That's advice I think everybody could use.
I needed it before brain injury. But it took this to make me do it.
What is success for you in the future?
I really need to get the word out to other mild brain injury survivors about what the experience is like, what they can do for themselves, exercise, for example, and that they're not alone. I need to get that word out to more people. So that's this year's goal. In the future, after that, and through that, maybe, I really want to do more discovery of who I am as a person and to continue to sort of leverage what I've got to offer to the world until basically there's nothing left. Like, I just want to be who I'm supposed to be and give everything that I have. And I will find ways to do that.
So what's the one thing that you think everyone should know about living a life creatively?
one way I want to answer it is to say it takes courage, and I don't feel very courageous a lot of days. So you can go back to that quote that says, courage is not the absence of fear, it's moving forward when you have fear. And I think that's one thing that stands out for me. It's, you don't have all the answers. But another way of answering it is that you are the answer. So you're making your own answers every day, and it can be exhilarating. And I definitely have a lot more clarity living life this way about why I'm doing things and who is in my life, and it's just a great, healthy way to live.
It seems like you live your life very deliberately now.
Very deliberately. Very deliberately. And I think that's interesting about living a creative life, is that before this, and I think in this culture, we have this idea that people who are creative, so we separate the world into people who are creative and people who are not creative, which I don't agree with. But then also we think of them as being undisciplined or just all over the place. In the corporate world, I know when somebody walked in, and they weren't all together, their hair was a little bit messy, and they were kind of like, what time is it, right? And you would just think, oh no, we've got somebody who didn't get the memo, and they're not going to be okay. I don't think that that's what, I don't agree with that stereotype anymore. I realize that part of it is about being very deliberate, being very disciplined, making choices, and then just going with it. And staying aware of everything that's happening around you and taking advantage of opportunities that present themselves, but not, you don't necessarily need a script for that.
Very cool. Where can people read your blog?
Yeah, it's at Route66ajourney, one word, .com. And I'm Elaine at Route66ajourney.com if you want to reach me.
I hope you have much success. I hope you build a tribe and a community and
Thank you.
Help everybody you can. And I hope all of that comes right back to you.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks for being on the Trailer Talks, because this is a hoot. And if I have guests like you, I'll just keep doing it.
Take care.
All right.
I just want to be who I'm supposed to be and give everything that I have. And I will find ways to do that. I need to, at some point it would be nice if it made some money.
Yeah, I think that's how we all feel. It's like, wow, let's make some money with this. Yeah, podcasting doesn't make all that much money. But it's fun.